Nobody is something else, man. You are a fiend in this movie, dude. So congratulations.
Yes, my character is a little deranged, even though he's the hero of the movie. He's a little off his rocker, I would say. He takes it too far. But I guess, he's got a lot of pent-up rage.
Listen, you missed the trash man enough weeks in a row, and it just takes that one thing, I guess. But he might need to talk to somebody, but he gets to let it out. He gets to let it out.
True, Brandon? It's a fantasy, but it's all about the buildup of that frustration that is part of life, that you have to just you have to learn to meditate. And if you don't meditate, you're going to blow up like Hutch.
Well, woosah, the bad boys of it all. Woosah, just got to let it out. But so the action in this movie is what is going to appeal to so many people just from the trailer alone. And it has a lot of character to it, but the action inevitably, it's the same team as John Wick and Atomic Blonde. It's got the similarities and that visceral, in-your-face grittiness. But Hutch is very different from Lorraine or John Wick, and I want to hear your perspective on that. Like, in your opinion, what sets him apart from these other kind of iconic action heroes that we've seen before?
Well, I thought a lot about Atomic Blonde, actually, and Charlize was so amazing in that movie. Our movie has a specific kind of character DNA, I think, with that film, in that she played an action hero who was amazingly skilled, but also felt the pain when she got hurt. That great sequence in the middle where she's fighting the guy in the apartment. And by the way, the person she fights is Daniel Bernhardt, maybe the best stunt actor in the world. And he's the person who trained me for Nobody. But you can see the pain in their eyes. They're getting hurt as they fight, and they're getting fatigued. And that's sort of something that's been missing from action films for a decade or two, which is that the hero really suffers. And I wanted to present that in our movie, Nobody. I wanted to play a guy who accrues that damage and who really is struggling through the pain that he's feeling as it grows through the movie. The thing that's different is I hope I played an action hero who was very uncertain. The great moment in that Ilya Naishuller orchestrated in the bus where I say, I'm going to fuck you up. If I played it right, I played a look in my eyes that is not so sure that he's going to succeed. But he's sort of declaring it as a intention.
Yeah.
Maybe he's not really 100% sure he's going to.
Yeah. Well, man, it came through. My last thing for you, since we're already running out of time here, is since we're Comicbook.com, we love to geek a bit. You've been a part of a superhero franchise in The Incredibles. You've now been a total badass in Nobody. I'm curious, any idea if you'd ever want to join like a Marvel or DC title? Would you rather be a hero or a villain? I mean, could there be more Incredibles work too?
Well, I don't know. I'd happily be a part of any of those projects. Those are all good people making great films and fun projects. The one thing I think is probably not right for me is the bulking up, the muscle bulking up. I don't think that fits me. So I don't know if Marvel or DC would be willing to have a superhero who's tough and able to fight, but not muscle bound.
Well, maybe we get you in there as a Norman Osborn or something. I can see you pulling some strings. But thank you so much. Congrats on the movie. Thank you for the time, man. I can't wait for everybody to see this.
You got it. Thank you, man.
Nobody is a blast. This movie is wild. The action is unbelievable. And there's a lot. I have a fun question for you to start with, because there's a lot of kind of just makeshift weaponing around the house. So if this was a situation, which hopefully you're never in, what would your go-to weapon be around the house if you really had to take out some henchmen?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you, but most women, just because of the nature of our lives, we make a lot of plans for what to do in which case, So, we know our ways around a lot of different things. And I think that the number one thing that you use, like, for example, when you're out walking, is the key in the fist kind of thing, right? So you put your key in the fist, it points out through your fist. you're ready to rock and roll. And it's something that is not likely to be used against yourself. So I think as women, we try to look at what weapons cannot be used on ourselves, because that's one of the reasons for why self-defense experts and police officers say, please don't have a gun and don't have a knife or things like that, because they're liable to probably be used against yourself. And so I think that there are a lot of other ways of doing things. And I think that I would look at what is in my favor. And the fact that it's in my favor is that I know my house. And the perp does not. And so I would definitely try to win as much time as possible by getting away from the person so that we can even, out some of the differences in, say, he's aggressive, I'm not so aggressive, and so on. So I would think more sort of like with the brains, and then try to use weapons that cannot be used against myself.
That's a very important answer. Like I was having fun, but that's a very, that's information people could really use, and hopefully never, but to have information, those thoughts, I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. So I also, listen, Bob's character Hutch gets a little unhinged, and you play a character who kind of really, in another movie, which has really taught people to never become unhinged like that. And I'm referring to Hippolyta, a character we at Comicbook.com love. So I'm curious if Hippolyta had some advice for Hutch, what would she tell him?
Well, she would definitely tell him to not be so down on himself, to love himself up a little bit, to use gratitude for what he does have, which is a fantastic and loving family, not to mention wife, and to team up with people on his side so that he's not so alone.
I love that. And if I may, another project you're going to appear in very soon is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I would love to hear from you. Just kind of the evolution of that character that we've come to know now that we're going to go back and see Zack's original vision of it. How does that character compare for you under Zack's direction?
So it was very interesting because I first shot Wonder Woman, and then we went into Justice League after shooting Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman really brings you into sort of like a little bit of an origin background for Wonder Woman. But incredibly, Justice League actually takes you into a origin story. So I can't say a lot of it, but what was amazing was that really was part of the story that he built up into Justice League. So there was like an origin story as well. So I'm very excited to see how much of that you guys will get to see. Obviously, there's so many people who love the Amazons, and I think they're going to be excited to see even more stuff from the Amazon culture, and they'll see how badass the Amazons are.
I love it. Well, thank you, Connie, so much for taking the time. I'm a huge fan. I can't wait for everybody to get to see And Nobody. And if there's a sequel, I think you're ready to kick. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think you're ready to get in there. Well, thank you, Connie. Thank you. I want to talk about this movie, Nobody, what you see on the screen behind me. The movie is a blast. It's very intense. It has the same visceral, in-your-face action elements that you only get from like a John Wick or an Atomic Blonde that we've seen you work on in the past. And Hutch, though, Bob Odenkirk's character, very much his own character by comparison to the stars of those films. I want to hear from you. How would you compare them? Why is Hutch kind of a more relatable character, I'd say?
Isn't he a more relatable character? I think it's because he's going through a lot of things that a lot of us go through. Like, we get into our lives, we do our patterns, our routines, our everything, our rituals, and suddenly life has passed us by and we're not as spicy as we used to be. And then something happens and it flips the switch and it's like, actually, I want to be that guy, and you go for it. And so I do think he's more relatable.
Yeah, I also don't have a suit that is bulletproof. So I have Bob's kind of casual wear, and I felt that, and I appreciated it. So yeah, but I'm ready for the shared universe. I'm ready to see Bob kind of go toe to toe. I think he could hang with Keanu and Charlize, but I don't know. You think that's possible?
I wish it was possible. I love the idea of their partners and they're not enemies, because I think they both are guys who go by a code and who have, a certain moral compass that would allow them to fight side by side.
Yeah. It's so fun to see when Hutch has kind of a home invasion sequence. I don't want to spoil anything. He makes weapons out of household items like nobody's business. What is the key to for a character to be able to to make that good, to find that good item in the house that is good to smash these henchmen's faces in with?
Yeah, I mean, look, at 87 North, we're always looking for characters that have deep, layers and intense stories, behind backstories. And then it's like, okay, what environment can we put them in to allow for us to achieve original and bold action? And, Hutch had that in spades, because it is like sort of grounded in real life. And I once had a conversation with my husband, David Leach, and I was like in a hotel room, and I felt like the guy next to me in one of those like adjoining rooms was going to come and attack me for some reason. And I was like, what do I use in the hotel room? And he's like, what do you got? And we landed on the iron.
I mean, get that thing hot, push. That's it. They're not coming back from that. They're not coming back from that. I'm a huge...
That's the game every time. Yeah.
I am such a big fan of 8711. You guys do action like nobody does it. It's amazing. I mean, and I do have to, you see here, you look around my room, I'm a geek here at Comicbook.com. So I have to talk to you. You worked on Deadpool, Deadpool 2. And I'm curious, I mean, do you know, have you got any plans for bringing any of this 8711 to Deadpool 3? Are you going to work on that film?
I don't know. Look, I mean, it's Ryan's universe and we all live in it, and he's amazing and he's a really good friend and he is an extraordinary talent. And if he, if it works out, it's meant to be, is all I have to say.
I love it. And the last thing, I mean, you're also attached to The Division, which is adapting a video game, which I'm so like, what is the kind of approach to that? Because I mean, video game action is its own animal, right? And you guys are kind of like, you guys usually do fully fresh. Is there any kind of homage you want to pay to elements of the game with that? Can you say anything about where that's what we can expect?
Yeah, I mean, that is, an opportunity to, go through a pandemic, quite honestly, and, a new world like that happens in an instant, and how do you get through it? And I think that is a backdrop that, allows for you to be really original in the action, as well as delve into what happens emotionally to your characters.
To see what you all do with a big sprawling world like that. I can't wait to see it. But Nobody, for right now, I cannot wait for everybody to see Nobody. You guys knocked it out of the park with this. So thank you, Kelly, so much for taking the time to talk.
Thank you so much.
Hey, man, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about Nobody.
Thank you. But before we get started, and I know normally the interviewer says that line before we get started, but I got to say, before we get started, is that the Thanos glove?
You see this right here? This is the full... in its glory, man. That's the Infinity.
Don't snap no fingers while we on this interview. All right.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Listen, I know you're a big fan of stuff. I've run into you at Comic-Con in the past, and so I want to start with a geeky question for you, if that's okay.
Oh, good.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of your music. I know a lot of people are, and your impact on the music industry has been awesome. So, who is a superhero that you think would be the most fun to make a track for?
Wow. Well, for me, one of my favorite superheroes is Silver Surfer. So now, hitting him with a track while he's just surfing the universe on that board, and he had a RZA soundtrack, I don't know, that might be something deep.
Listen, it sounds like it's only a matter of time until Marvel brings him in, so we'll see. So you've told me that you once upon a time really wanted to do Rom the Space Knight, and I'm curious, have you had any luck kind of getting through to anybody with any on the superhero front at all? Because I know you would kill it, because you would have, like, you're a fan of this stuff.
Yeah, I haven't got the chance yet. I leave my door is wide open. My door is open with arrows pointing and fingers and like, yeah.
So, listen, I'm here to help if I can. I support that journey. But also, we have to talk about Nobody, man, because you kick some ass in this movie in the coolest way, man. When you show up in the film, you just look cool, just blowing people away. Tell what is the secret? Because you've done a lot of action stuff before, so you're getting really good at this. What is the secret to just like looking so cool next? I mean, you're also next to Christopher Lloyd, which is very cool in itself.
Exactly. I mean, this is a great cast and a great director at the end of the day. You know, Hardcore Henry, his previous film was groundbreaking in all reality for us action fans, you know what I mean? And so I was always a fan of his. And when they said that he's doing this film, I was like, wow, I read the script. I was like, he's going to kill this shit. And then when they invited me to play with him, I just wanted to come and give him something that I kind of haven't given, right? Which is, you know, kind of, I think a little bit more internal, but yet confident. You know what I mean? And I think the loyalty aspect of the character, you know, as you hear the character talking throughout the film, you could tell that he's there for his brother, you know. And when he finally makes that show up to help the family, it's based on loyalty. And if you think it look cool, I'm gonna take the compliment. You know what I mean? Because the stunt team, I had a great stunt team, and they they had the moves, and they brought me in, and I probably lost 5 pounds in a week working on it. But it was fun.
That's awesome. I have that when you get to work with so many. I mean, you've worked with some really awesome people. You worked with Terry O'Quinn, who played one of my favorite characters of all time on Lost when you did Gang Related. You're working with Christopher Lloyd here from a Back to the Future legend. Who is kind of like, do you guys still ever get starstruck when you get to meet each other? Have you ever had that moment? And who is somebody also that when they met you truly, really had a moment of like just geeking out?
Wow. I don't know how to answer that question, but I could say like there are certain people that you just have so much respect for and reverence for when you meet them. You know that it's a certain kind of honor. You know, look, I gotta say, you know, this is a tough thing to say, but I'm saying it to you, right? When I met Chadwick Boseman at we was at some party, and there he was. You know what I mean? The Black Panther. And I just had a biggest smile on my face, and I was like, oh, yo, what up, yo? And I gave him the big bounce. Yo, man, me and my wife love you. He was like, yo, what up, yo? Me and my wife love you. I train with you every day. Yo, it was like the incrediblest thing of like a love that was like, I mean, we ended up like probably, you know, like a 3-minute hug, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was such a great feeling. But going back to our movie, I'm a Christopher Lloyd fan, yo, since Taxi. I had a chance to tell him about the things he did. My son was introduced to him about 4 or 5 years ago. We go to this movie theater called Sinopolis out in Woodlake, Westlake, whatever, out in Cali, right? But anyway, and they have like movie pick of the weeks, and every once in a while it'd be some old classic, and they had Back to the Future, and we took our son to see that, and that was his first time seeing it, and he geeked out and loved it. And then we got Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, and so Doc becomes one of my son's favorite characters. And when they called me for the movie, I didn't tell my son. He didn't find out until Universal was kind enough to send me a screener, and I played it, and he was like, oh, that's Doc. He was watching Doc, and then he seen me pop up. He was like, whoa, Dad, you know Doc. So that was a bong for me.
That's amazing, man. Well, congratulations on those moments, man. It's been fun to follow you, and I look forward to talking to you again, man, and everybody getting to see a chance of your work and nobody.
Thank you, brother.